Now, Channel 4 News has been making its way across the country all this week, finding out what the economic recovery really means. We've been travelling from the far south of England up to Scotland. And today, Jackie and the team have reached the heart of the Lake District in Ullswater. Over to Jackie.
Thanks, Sarah. And here we've been hearing about the issues which viewers have asked us to cover, especially the economic recovery, such as it is, and how it looks far away from Westminster. As we work our way up the country, tonight's location could hardly be more idyllic, the Lake District. It looks peaceful and the murderous chaos of Syria's conflict may feel far away. But with this week's savage chemical attack, is it now time for everyone to feel touched by the distant rumble of those guns? Later I'll be asking locals and their MP, former diplomat and soldier Rory Stewart, just that. First though, there is, we're told, an economic recovery. But is everyone sharing in it? It may not be obvious, but some of Britain's most vulnerable people are to be found not in inner cities but in areas like this. Our North of England correspondent Kieran Jenkins reports.
These are the fairy tale vistas tourists flock to see. They come here in their thousands to indulge in the breathtaking scenery and the local hospitality. But off the tourist trail, this is the Cumbria that goes unseen.
Well, really struggled.
In Barrow, a flea-infested bedsit, home to an out-of-work chef who no longer cooks, not even for himself.
I've been begging off people just so I can get something to eat.
For almost 4 years, there's been no place for David Greenall among Cumbria's legion of chefs. He's hit rock bottom. The day before we meet, he was arrested for stealing food.
Well, I came into Morrison's yesterday because I was desperately hungry and I just helped myself to food and I tried to walk out the supermarket without paying for it.
How did you feel having to do that?
Embarrassed, ashamed.
Have you ever done it before?
No.
Tourism is so important to the local economy here. It supports thousands of jobs, but they're often temporary and low paid. And when the tourism industry isn't hiring, the jobless wonder where else to turn. In desperation, they're increasingly coming here, to Cumbria's food banks, struggling to cope with demand.
A lot of people in this area work in the hotels and so on, in the tourist trade, and they get accommodation plus their wages. But at the end of the tourist season, they're made redundant. So sometimes we have people who suddenly without accommodation there, and they've got no job. So you can see how quickly people get into a lot of problems.
We've given you extra there of bread, rolls, nice fruit pie.
And it's not just the tourism industry they pick up after here. There's been a big increase in demand from people like Chris Milburn. His benefits have been stopped because he hasn't applied for enough jobs.
Daddy, ready to go?
Yeah, mate, grab some of these for me.
He has a young family to feed, but no income whatsoever. How bad does it have to get before you go and ask?
Oh, for us, really bad.
Yeah.
It really got to the point where we had nothing in our cupboards.
No food?
Yeah. Just all over, not being able to look after your children.
Yeah, electric, gas, yeah.
Just it's your general, to us it's a lot, it's everything really at the moment.
School holidays as well at the moment, it makes it even worse.
Yeah, you know, when they're at school at least they get fed.
For almost 2 years, Chris has been handing his CV to local employers. This time it's Barrow's candle factory.
I've worked here before part-time. It's another place I'm going to try.
He wants to find work as a forklift truck driver. Any luck?
I just handed it at reception, they said they'd hand it over to HR for me. Just what wait and see now.
Optimistic? What do you think?
No, not really.
Chris believes there simply isn't the work to go around. But should he set his sights lower? The Conservative leader on Cumbria Council wants his constituents to be less picky.
The Lake District is here, near to Barrow, near to Ulverston, right on our doorstep. A lot of jobs out there. Yes, they're low paid, but we find Polish, Eastern European people quite happy to come and work in our hotels and in our agricultural sector as well. I would ask the question, why are not local people taking those jobs?
On the streets of Whitehaven, west of the lakes, the question was put to us somewhat differently. Why aren't local people getting those jobs? And how could it get so bad that young men like Ethan Simmons can't even afford the bus fare to the local food bank? Ethan's now wondering if his future lies elsewhere.
I'd love to have a job. You know what I mean? I've worked most of my life.
And if you don't get a job, what happens?
Move back down Birmingham maybe, hopefully.
Move away?
Move away, just try and get a job.
In Barrow, I'm just so unhappy.
David too has almost nothing to keep him here. So you've had your benefits taken off now, and the theory is that you should now go out and find a job because that's the only way you're going to get some money in.
Yeah. But physically and mentally, I know I can't cope.
Where's the next meal going to come from?
I don't know. Luckily, the police come downstairs. They went to the food bank today for me and got me some food. But I don't know how to warm it up.
How come?
Because I haven't got a cooker, I haven't got a microwave, I haven't got a fridge. I've just got nothing.
As one despairing local put it to me, up here, the green shoots of recovery can seem very far away.
Kieran Jenkins reporting. Well, Rory Stewart is the Conservative MP here, and he's with me now on this 19th century steamer. Mr. Stewart, can I pick up on some of the points made in that piece? You have people there on the breadline, they would say below the breadline. Is it their fault?
Of course it's not their fault. This is an area, the Lake District where you are, where the biggest problem is isolation and distance. To get to a school from where we are now, to get to the secondary school, is about half an hour. To get to a hospital will take you about an hour and 20 minutes. It's an area where there are jobs. There are a lot of jobs in this area, but they're low-income jobs.
For those jobs? Because the Tory councillor is asking, why won't local people take those jobs when people coming from other countries will?
Well, in this particular area, my constituents are taking those jobs, but the average income is about £16,000 here. So it's a very beautiful area, but it's not an area of wealthy people. And the best thing that we can really do at the moment is to invest in things like broadband in order to overcome those barriers of distance, to help people set up small businesses.
But there is this issue raised by that councillor, raised by a Conservative councillor, suggesting that people are unwilling to work. So do you agree with him?
James is talking about Barrow, which is his area, which I don't know well. But in this area, Penrith and the border, I think people are willing to work. We've got only about 750 unemployed people on job seekers allowance at the moment out of nearly 50,000. But the great thing is I think things are beginning to turn around.
I mean, just very briefly before we move on, your government has created a welfare reform agenda predicated pretty much on the assumption that there are too many people who are unwilling to work. I mean, are you supportive of that? Because some of your constituents in there are talking about benefit sanctions that are forcing them really almost to starve.
Yeah, my constituents who are actually not in that film are people who are
really...
But
you have to represent everybody.
I do absolutely, but that's Barrow, which is a very different area of Cumbria. This is an area which is really about farming and agriculture and tourism, and they face very, very serious problems. If you go up into these hills, you'll find farmers who are really struggling. But those are issues that really are not about unemployment, they're about distance.
Just moving on to the issue of Syria, you'll have seen the pictures coming out of Syria today. You have talked in the past about being absolutely resolute in your belief that there should be no military intervention. Do these pictures change that?
I think they're very, very disturbing, and I think they mean two things. One of them is that clearly the United States, if this is proved to happen, needs to do something to show that it's serious about red lines. And the second thing is we need to take this as an opportunity to get Russia and China on side. This is potentially a real opportunity for a political settlement.
But what about military intervention? I mean, what is your feeling about that? Because we've been speaking to people today who say, you know, it's not enough to condone and to emote, if you like. We need action.
I think I'd turn that around and say, unfortunately, it's not enough to emote. The real question is, what can we do? What are we proposing to do? And I think we need to do three things. The first one is find out what actually happened with the chemical attack. Secondly, set a clear deadline for China and Russia and ask them to condemn it, which will make a huge difference on the ground.
Chances of that are slim, though, aren't they?
I think if we can prove there's a chemical attack, we're in a much stronger position than we've been for the last 2 years. So I think that's a huge opportunity, and it'd be a real pity to waste that.
Rory Stewart, thank you very much.